Los derechos de un ser humano fueron violados por otro ser humano. Unos policías se aprovecharon de la autoridad que la gente les dieron.
Joining us on the Buckmaster Show, Dr. Mark Stegeman, former TUSD board president, now board member, still board member of TUSD. How you doing, Dr. Stegeman?
Fine, thanks, Bill.
Back on August 24th, of course, the board voted to I guess, was demote you the proper word?
I think of it as a coup.
There have been some directions that our current leadership have taken that I don't support. And so I would like to move that we replacement of the current governing board president to Miguel Cuevas.
All right, then, Sylvia, call the roll.
Ms. Grijalva? Yes. Mr. Hicks?
Before I make my vote, I have a thing I want to read. With that, I
think we can continue with the roll.
Ms. Burns?
Yes.
Mr. Cuevas?
Yes.
Dr. Stegeman?
No.
On August 24th, of course, the board voted to I guess, was demote you the proper word?
I think of it as a coup.
You were ousted as the board president,
yes.
And now a fellow board member, Miguel Cuevas, has taken over as the TUSD board president. You've had some weeks to reflect on this, and what are some of your thoughts now as you look back on this?
Oh, it was mostly symbolic. I think it reflected several things, but more than anything else, the division on the board over the ethnic studies issue, I think that is spilling over into other issues. But it's not such a serious thing, really.
But it kind of it sort of bruised your ego a little bit, wouldn't it?
A little bit, but not too much. I mean, it's not really very important in the end. I'd served 8 months. The president has a vote just like anyone else, and it was a little strange, but it doesn't. I don't think, as I said at the time, that it's going to make much difference to what happens to the district.
You testified during one of these hearings, and how would you characterize your testimony about the study of Mexican American history and culture?
I had during that class, I guess, an epiphany, which reflected what I was seeing in the class and all observations I had made connected with this program since the start of the year.
What was that epiphany?
Eric Hoffer, this is just what happened in a deposition. I have difficulty with this. Eric Hoffer wrote a seminal textbook, not a textbook, a seminal book in sociology in the early 50s, which you have referenced, about cult psychology. And at this point in the lecture, I had an epiphany about this book that I had not thought of in many, many years, and that what I was seeing, and it also affected a little bit observations I'd made previously since the start of the year, aligned with much of what Eric Hoffer talked about.
And how would you characterize your testimony about the study of Mexican American history and culture?
The state when I went to the classes, I took notes, and the state learned that I had these notes. And so they obtained those notes through a public records request and read to me things out of the notes, which were not things I would normally have said if I had ever expected that my notes would be open to public scrutiny. But, of course, that was what I wrote to myself, and there was no way to deny it under oath.
And you testified about a classroom visit in which you described behavior that you said was aligned with a book on cult psychology. Is that correct?
Well, that was a book by Eric Hoffer, which was published in 1951 in the wake of World War II, and he was writing about mass movements and mass psychology. I don't think he used the word cult psychology, but it's similar. And I did see some connections. It was somewhat more complicated than presented in the news, but there were many things I observed, not just in that classroom, but in the program overall, that had some resonance for me with the sorts of things Eric Hoffer wrote about. I think it got maybe exaggerated in the media, but I did see that resonance, and I did talk about it in that testimony.
Do you regret any of that testimony?
I did say what I think was true, so I don't regret it in that sense. I regret it in the sense that I'm in a very awkward position testifying in some sense against my own organization.
Dr. Mark Stegeman is with us from the board of the TUSD, and I think we got to get to the bottom line here, Dr. Stegeman, that should the district's efforts fail, it's at risk of losing nearly $15 million in state funding. So if the state comes back with a ruling that the program is not in compliance with state law, some real difficult decisions are facing TUSD.
Yes. And I think that if it comes that way, the board will do one of two things probably. Either it will capitulate and do whatever the state wants us to do, or we will sue the state and ask for a stay of the state's penalty based on waiting for the outcome of that suit. Those are the two most likely outcomes, and I honestly don't know which way the board would go.
Which way would you go on those two outcomes?
Oh, I don't want to spend money on this. I have said in public repeatedly now that I think the best outcome is to stop the program as it is. One thing we learned this year was that the program was never really properly created in the first place. The board never approved the program, approved the titles. It approved the concept, but nothing more than that. And I think given that spotty history, the best thing to do is to start over. And that's what I would advocate for. I think I've said before, I see TUSD as a jungle, and we are hacking through that jungle, and with some help or not help from the state. And the hacking process is messy, and sometimes things look worse before they get better. But this will get to resolution one way or another, and then we will have disposed of that issue, and then we'll have other issues. But this is certainly one of the naughtiest ones. I think we were going to end up addressing it one way or the other. It wasn't going to be an easy thing no matter how it went. And so we're just working through it and hoping we get to the end soon.
Speaking of the end, your term on the governing board is set to expire December the 31st, 2012. Have you decided whether or not you would seek a second term on the board?
No. I guess most days...
Do you want to make an announcement here on the Buckmaster Show that you are running or not running?
Well, maybe in a few months. I think most days I wake up feeling like I would like to run again, but not every day. So I'm not completely sure yet.
Dr. Mark Stegeman, thanks for being with us on the Buckmaster Show. Good luck to you.
Thank you, Bill.
Thanks a lot.
The best outcome is to stop the program.